All right, welcome in everybody. Thanks for coming on to our second live stream for the Mock Draft Monday series. As you all know, my name is Jared Palmgren. I am one of the hosts here at For Chasing the Natty, along with my co-host Xavier Hood over there all the way on the right. And I think I just now realized I have your Twitter handles backwards. This is a great start. Well done, me. So thank you guys for coming on tonight. And if you notice, we have another guy sitting in between Xavier and I. We have a very special guest on here, all the way from campus to Canton, Mr. Colin Decker. Welcome onto the show. Yeah, I'll just let you kind of introduce yourself. And Xavier, you can kind of introduce yourself as well if you want to say anything.
Okay. What's up, guys? Happy to be here. I'm excited to do one of these CFF mocks finally. I wanted to get in the last couple, but as anybody who listens to my show would know, I was been on vacation off and on for the past 2 weeks. And then we had had 4th of July there over that as well. So, I've been trying to get on here for a little while. Excited to be in here. A little bit out of my element here, but I'll lean on you guys. But, definitely excited to have the first pick here. That'll make my decision a little bit easier. And then we'll go from there. We'll see how it goes.
You got anything you want to say there?
Yeah, I was. You give me a chance, Jared. I remembered you asked. No, I'm just playing. I am the other half chasing the Natty. I'm Xavier Hood. This is probably going to be my second mock draft. I know Jared's been hosting every other one, but every time we have a guest, I do enjoy coming on and seeing their perspective and sharing the conversations. And then from the other drafts, Jared just compiles information, and I just see, he tells me what surprised him, and I tell him what surprised me. So I'll try to be more involved. Probably be in the next one next week if we're not doing much. So
speaking of the one next week, we'll go ahead and talk about that here. If you want to get involved with these mock drafts, every Sunday night we are hosting these at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if we get the 12 people required that we need. If you want to sign up, I will be posting a link to the league every Tuesday from there, and I retweet. If you follow me, I retweet that constantly throughout the week, updating how many spots are left and everything. You won't, if you follow me on Twitter, there's no way you don't see the link to these mock drafts and everything. We come on here, we have a great time. We already got people talking to each other in the chat. Looks like we're debating Hudson Card in here, I think. Brock Purdy, I see in there. Bo Nix is in there. So if you want to get involved with that, just again, even if you don't see my tweets for whatever reason and you just have a hard time, just DM me on Twitter. I will happily get you guys involved in this. It's a fun time, very casual, very laid back. We have a good time here. So we'll go ahead and transition back to our faces. Thank you, Colin, very much for coming on here. You had this whole cover story about how you've been on vacation the last couple of weeks, and that's why you haven't been on here. See, everybody out there, the reality is Colin's been in my closet, locked up and tied up, and basically I've kept him in there until he agreed to come onto this show. That basically is how he's felt with me DMing him every single week, being like, hey, you want to come on this week? Hey, you want to come on this week? And he's like, I'm on vacation. So, again, we're having a good time here.
I have a pretty firm, don't give into, terrorists, you don't give into hostage negotiations rule, but I had to finally cave, a couple weeks without food and water. It'll do it to you. Some sleep deprivation too. Blaring that Georgia Fight song all the time.
Oh yeah. I got that constantly blasting in this household. Oh my God. Yeah. Xavier and I all know all about no food and water. We're college students.
Oh yeah.
Fair point.
Formerly college students now, I have to say.
Yeah. Congrats on that, by the way. We were talking a little bit pre-show. You said you were working on your grad degree now, right?
That I am, and Xavier is on his way to the actual adult world. I'll let him talk about any opportunities he's been talking about.
Oh, yeah. I went to school for journalism, so I would love to be a reporter for anywhere in Georgia. Will hire me. So I feel like I have the voice and the face. I remember somebody made the joke to me that they were like, you have a
face for radio.
Yeah, I was so hurt. I was like, I'm going to prove this person wrong.
Well, hey, you got the voice for it, too.
Yeah.
You do have a very nice voice, Xavier, I will say.
Appreciate it, yeah.
All right, so
let's see how much time we have. 8 minutes and
we got about
8 minutes and 36 seconds.
Hold on. Oh yeah, my timer was behind. It looks like, yeah, I was about to say 9 minutes. Nope, 8.5 minutes. What are we discussing here in the chat? What do we got here? We need
a lot of people think that Hendon Hooker is going to start week 1 for Tennessee.
Yeah, that's what Mr. Volunteers was saying there.
Yeah, Volunteers.
I've kind of been on the Hendon Hooker bandwagon as well. I haven't been confident in it, so I haven't taken him in any C2C drafts here. But in a CFF mock, I might take him. Volunteers may have to take him a little bit early if he wants him. That's a high ceiling. That's a high ceiling.
Also, hold on. I think I just realized. Hold on.
Yeah, but speaking more about Hendon Hooker, like I remember I loved him at Virginia Tech, and I thought, it was kind of weird not too weird for him to transfer, but I thought it was a nice fit. And I know he went down in that one game. It was close to the end of the season. I forgot the game in particular, and I thought he would come back, but went off to Tennessee, where it seemed like every transfer QB just kept going to Tennessee, and I was like, this is making this, and they're all so different too.
Yep.
So I was like, this is definitely going to be an interesting battle. I loved Harrison Bailey at the spring game, but now more and more I realized, I was like, yeah, all the stats look great, but now knowing that the defense was banged up and injured, and you're just putting up, the empty stats word, it kind of had me deterred for a little minute. And I do love Hendon Hooker's ability to rush as well. And I saw him take some big hits, especially against the Clemson game as well too. So I was like, all right, I think he could, maybe fare some type of way in the SEC. So we'll see how he does.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets the job, I think he can hold his own. And then if he does get the job, like I said, that ceiling for fantasy is sky high. And hypo offense and the legs.
All right, I did my best to try to fix the Twitter handles, and for some reason, Collins was just not behaving. So, Colin, you're going to be a little lower on the totem pole. In terms of
that's fine.
Also, I don't know if you saw in the chat, Austin asked, or Austin said that if Twitter handles are anything to go by, this is the best Collins ever looked. So I think that was a compliment to you, Xavier. Austin asks, any thoughts on Joe Milton coming in from Michigan being there? What are you guys' thoughts there? I'm on the Bailey train. I like Harrison Bailey. I think he kind of got put into a very crappy situation last year with a coach in Pruitt, who I think he kind of knew he was kind of on the outs. So it felt like the whole QB rotation was not really there to set anybody up for success, because he kind of threw in Harrison Bailey at the worst possible moments after Jared Garantano had already gone in and kind of mucked the whole thing up. So I think Harrison Bailey's a lot better than he looked last year, especially in the spring game. I thought Harrison Bailey looked great, and I think he can absolutely run a Josh Heupel offense. So I do think Joe Milton very quickly could become that third, maybe even fourth QB on that depth chart, depending on how much they like I can't remember the other guy's name who was already there with Bailey.
No, JT Shrout. He transferred out.
He's Colorado now.
Yeah. Okay, so he transferred out.
Starts with a K.
I'm not sure which one the other one is, but I mean, I think it really comes down to Hooker and Bailey, and then Milton's probably the third for me.
I would agree.
I didn't really love what I saw from Milton last year. I mean, yeah, he's a toolsy guy, but he just didn't really seem to put it together. I mean, when you get
he's the one that started the
Cade McNamara.
I would say he's the one who started the Minnesota game, right? For Michigan, that was the one game he looked good in.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
There was a few games. It was the Indiana and Michigan game he looked really good in, especially Indiana game. He had 3 touchdowns, but I'm not going to talk about the 2 interceptions. That's just from perspective. We're not going to talk about that. We don't count interceptions in most of our leagues, except for me and Jared's personal one, where I think, interceptions, you got to be taking some points off. You're throwing picks, but
yeah, I've seen a lot.
I definitely think is a good. Oh, I'll let you go.
I was gonna say I've seen a lot of people start adding -1 for interceptions, -1 for fumbles, -1 for interceptions. I think it should be a little bit more, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'm used to like most NFL leagues or even like the C2C leagues that I play in, you do usually lose like 2 for interceptions. So I've never done strictly a CFF league before, so I didn't even know that they didn't penalize you for interceptions. That's interesting.
I think that's the default setting. You can easily change it. All right, so as we kind of get closer here to the draft and everything, we got about 3.5 minutes. I'll show you the screen that we'll be looking at for the majority of the time and everything. Everybody can see my kind of mock draft screen here. Oh no, you can see my queue. Don't any of you suckers try to use that to snipe me or anything like that. Xavier will regardless, but even if I ask nicely. But Colin, you have the number 1 overall pick. You want to just go ahead and tell us who you're thinking about taking here?
Well, I mean, I feel like it's pretty clear cut who to go with number 1. I feel pretty good about that. I feel good with Malik Willis there. I mean, the numbers that he put up last year were insane. And the rushing ability there, it's insane. It's like, Lamar Jackson-esque, and it's just, just head and shoulders above the rest of these QBs. I know Dustin Crum technically averaged more than Malik Willis last year on a points per game basis. And, maybe Malik Willis regresses a little bit, but I still think that combination of ceiling and floor for Malik Willis is too much to pass up there at number 1.
I agree 100%. And that schedule doesn't get any harder this year. I think the toughest team they face all year is Syracuse, if I remember their schedule correctly. It's completely soft, and it's part of the reason why I love it's part of the reason why I love grabbing the Liberty defense later on, especially to pair with Malik Willis. I think is great because he's going to get down here, he's going to score quickly, and that defense is going to get on that field. They're going to come on, they're going to get that offense off the field very quickly, and then it's going to go right back to Malik Willis, who will go back down there and score. It's such a great what's the word I'm looking for? Stack to have in fantasy. And not often do I recommend DST and QB stacks and everything, but I think that's going to be one you should look out for this upcoming year.
Yeah, well,
I will ask the question.
I was going to think Willis was Xavier on your pod, Chasing the Natty pod. I know you highlighted one of the benefits of him is, so you mentioned the stack there, Jared. You can't really stack any of his other weapons with Willis, and nobody else is really going to hurt you that much from Liberty. So that's another reason I like Willis too. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to throw.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I was going to ask from your perspective of campus to Canton, do you see any potential for him to go to the NFL and have success? Liberty is a small school, but I feel like he has the physical tools, especially with his rushing ability. And I know he has an arm. I know it's just a lot of people are just turned off of you're not playing the best of competition, but we've seen quarterbacks Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. They're not playing the best competition, but somehow they make it to number 1 and number 2 overall.
Yeah, I think that he'll definitely get drafted. You're seeing a lot of buzz in a lot of circles right now about him being a first-round quarterback for the NFL draft. And I don't necessarily see that personally. I think he has all the tools you want, but he's a little bit limited in he only has one speed when he throws the ball pretty much. It's mostly a fastball. He struggles a little bit with some of the touch throws. And the offense that he runs, they only kind of ask him to read about half of the field. So I don't know how much. Obviously you could take some steps. Look at Josh Allen, took some massive steps there, but that could be an outlier. So now you're kind of betting on a future outlier there as well. But if he gets taken in the first round, at that point, then I'm interested cautiously, just again, because of the ceiling that he could have. But, and there we are. That horn just right in my ear. I was like, oh, shoot.
Oh, yeah. You got 1 minute to make your pick.
Yeah, well, I don't even need the full minute here. We'll get this one off and running here. Draft starts at 2, Roughnecks, if you're listening.
All right, so I see. I asked the people in the draft what they want us to talk about. Kevin wants the Bijan debate, but Xavier, I'll save that one for when he's on next week and everything. I'll let you guys roast me on that one next week. Volunteers here is asking which QBs are being reached for are worth it or not, and then Iowa dude just says position battles. There goes Bijan, number 3 off the board and everything. Yes, definitely higher than I would have taken him, but. Even still, even bull smoke.
At 3 running backs in a row right here off the board.
Yeah, that's actually surprising me. I'm going to keep my mouth shut here for a second because I'm hoping somebody in particular kind of falls to me here that I haven't been able to get any shares of in a mock or a regular draft this year. And I do want to have at least one share of this guy. And again, I assume that Yep, there he went, Matt Corral. That
Yeah,
I was hoping again, living on a prayer over here, but I was hoping he might fall to me here because I do want to find out at one point what my team looks like if I build around Matt Corral. Let's see what other people. My pick's coming up here. I have the number 8 pick. Xavier has the number 10 pick, so we're probably gonna be sniping each other the entire night. So this is gonna be fun. Spencer Rattler goes off the board there. I'm looking at my queue here. Sincere McCormick, Dustin Crum, David Bell. Oh, there goes David Bell. So I think that kind of clears it up for me a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead and take Sincere McCormick here. Best running back left on the board and everything. I think there's a little bit of a dip kind of after him in terms of those top tier running backs that I would rather grab in the second round rather than the first. If it weren't him, probably would have gone either Dustin Crum or Kayshon Boutte here. Xavier, it's your pick. I'll let you go ahead and talk here.
Yeah, like you said, I would rather either go Dustin Crum or Kayshon Boutte, but I like the LSU wide receivers. I know Dustin Crum, we talked about this personally, where he does have a rough first few weeks schedule in terms of, I think, he plays Texas A&M, a few other schools. Maryland, I know you're not that big on that, but I think Maryland's an up-and-coming program, and they can get the best of Dustin Crum being Power 5 as well, too. And there's another school that I miss, Iowa. I think it's going to steamroll. So it definitely will be rough, but then once he gets to that easy max schedule, then yeah, he definitely will be worth it.
Sounds
but
good.
I will go Kayshon, that number 1 at LSU.
Volunteer saying that the true spicy steal is McCormick here. And again, I kind of agree. Again, I think he's that last top tier running back for this upcoming year. And not that these other guys after him are good or aren't good or aren't great or anything like that. But to me, he's the last truly safe bet to be great if you're looking at just this year's production. Kevin Marks goes here at number 11. I like Kevin Marks a lot, but with the head coach at Buffalo moving on to Kansas and everything, just a little bit too much in the air for me in terms of how he's going to get his carries this year. He's still the best offensive weapon on that team, I believe. So I bet you that he's still going to get used a lot, but I don't think there's the certainty there that he used to have. Xavier,
I completely agree. I completely agree with that, with him being a little bit more unpredictable, because they did also lose 2 offensive linemen as well. But they kept the offensive staff beyond the head coach, beyond Leipold. And so imagine they'll probably try and run a similar offense. So I still think that that's a solid pick there. Maybe a little early for me, but not bad.
All right, Xavier, your pick now here. Who are you coming back with?
We're doing double dipping at wide receiver. We're going Treylon Burks.
Ooh, very, very nice. Very, very nice. Yeah. All right, so Iowa dudes here. He's going to make a pick. And honestly, I want to go wide receiver usually in the first 2 rounds, but there's somebody here who I usually don't see him make it this far. Dustin Crum's right here in the second round. I'm just going to go ahead and grab him. Those first 3 weeks are going to be rough, but I trust myself to find somebody in the later rounds in order to kind of take care of those first couple of weeks. Mitch Hart, I agree. Wide receiver, especially on the later turn, is a very good play. But Dustin Crum here being in the second round, pick 5 in the second round, I'm just going to go ahead and take him here. Nate took the other guy that I was considering here, and that was Khalil Shakir. Again, he's with Tolbert and Austin and Burks all off the board. He was kind of the last major wide receiver, or the safest wide receiver left on the board. So I was considering him here, but I feel like I can build going forward. So Colin, I have to ask you, you picked Malik Willis with the first pick and everything. So you had to wait all this time now for it to come back around. Are you feeling good about the players you're looking at, about who you can grab here in the second round?
I don't feel as great about it. I mean, there's definitely Khalil Shakir is a guy that I definitely have my eye on as well. I like that the offense that they're going to be running this year with the new offensive coordinator, Tim Plow, I think it's going to be a little bit more up-tempo than we're used to seeing out of Boise. So I think Khalil Shakir could have a monster year this year. So he was somebody I was kind of hoping to get at the 212 there. But it sounds like you would have taken him if he was, if Crum wasn't on the board there. So it sounds like this is kind of about where he goes. There's one guy that I don't have any shares of in any of my C2C leagues. It's a little bit different here, but the reason I don't have any shares of him in C2C is because they're not sold on his NFL potential, but I think he's going to have a big year in college. And I'm not going to say the name here because I'm not trying to get sniped. Because beyond that, then I'm going to be struggling a little bit if he gets off the board. So I'm looking at one of them here. And then for the next pick, I'm not entirely sure here. There's another guy on the board that I like that I think is going to have a big year here as well. So we'll see who ends up making it to me here with this next one.
I'm looking ahead because I'm going to try to grab a wide receiver in this next pick, but I'm kind of looking at a lot of my number one guys are kind of going off the board here very quickly. And there's one I think could make it back to me that I'd be pretty happy with as my number one. Definitely probably wouldn't need to worry about injury or anything like that. That's kind of the thing that's nagging me about one of the other guys I'm looking at here. Trying to think who we got coming up here. So we're about to get the Collins picks here. Kyron Williams goes off the board. I think that's great value for him late here in the second. Austin Jones, I kind of have to agree with volunteers here a little bit. I'm not sure that Austin Jones is really the third round I'd be happy with, especially if I might be able to grab him as my second running back. But I'm not sure he's in this kind of upper tier first, second round guy off the board. What do you guys think?
I like Austin Jones. As far as CFF potential, I mean, he had some really big weeks there in Stanford. I think he just flew a little bit under the radar. He didn't being in the Pac-12. I think that would hurt him.
Hey, Colin, you took my guy.
Did I? All right. Well, that makes me feel a little bit better there. I like Mechie's. I think he could have a really, really nice year there because I like the other guys that they have there, but they're all like freshmen or they brought in transfer
Jameson Williams.
Yeah. But so I think Mechie's going to be the guy there. So I like that one. But Ronnie Rivers was the other guy I was looking at. So now I'm a little bit stuck at running back here. I love Gibbs, but I don't like him for CFF.
I would agree with you. I think he's going too high in CFF drafts for the most part. I see him go in the second round sometimes. And I agree with you guys on the C2C side. I think he's going to be great for the NFL. The problem is he's just on a Yellow Jackets offense that I don't think is going to get the scoring opportunities that people will want out of a guy coming out of the second round. So you grabbed Eric Gray here.
Man, that was a good pick. I love that pick.
I did. I wanted to snag another running back here because as I'm looking down here, I don't feel great about some of these running backs that are a little bit like in this area here. I mean, Kevin Harris really nice last year, but you got Lloyd coming back. Chris Rodriguez, that was another guy I was looking at, but I think Eric Gray is going to be the lead back there. And I think even if he gets 60% of the touches, I think he could have a huge year.
So this is what I was talking about with, and I'll go ahead and plug it here. If y'all aren't signed up for the Discord over at the CFF site, it's a great time. Y'all should absolutely purchase one of the packages there and get access to that Discord. We have a ton of fun in there. But we were talking to Eric Gray the other day, and we were talking about how a lot of people are worried about Kennedy Brooks. And I was one of these guys at the beginning of the season, or at the beginning of the offseason, that was a little bit more worried about Kennedy Brooks cutting into Eric Gray. But the thing that's selling me on Eric Gray is going to be the receiving work. Oklahoma loses almost every running back that they have that got a ton of receiving work for them last year. Stevenson, gone off to the draft. They lost TJ Pledger to Utah. They lost, what's his name? The one who got arrested.
McGowan.
Oh, yeah.
McGowan. They lost Seth McGowan to stupidity. So they lost all these guys that are receiving backs out of their backfield, and I think Eric Gray is going to shine in that role. We saw it at Tennessee. He had 30 receptions this past year and everything. You can tell he can do well with that work, and I think he's going to shine there. So like you said, Colin, even if he gets 60% of the carries, he does well already with his yards per carry, but on top of that, he's going to get a ton of that receiving back work, and I think Oklahoma is going to be looking to use their backs out of the backfield this upcoming year, even more so now that they have a talent as good as Eric Gray. So that's kind of my take on it. And I do think that you should take Eric Gray not as an RB1, but as an RB2 if you can get him. But if you can pair him with a safer running back as your running back 2, I'm okay with you taking him as a running back 1. I'm going to leave real quick. I need to grab some water because I realize my throat is dry as living hell. So, oh shoot, it's almost my pick as well. All right, I'll grab it after my pick. But you guys have any more thoughts on Eric Gray there?
Volunteers calling me out in the chat. He said he asked if I'm drafting him for a redraft or for C2C. Like I said, I like the ceiling there for him. So we'll see how that one works out here. I wasn't super confident in that one though. I will be honest.
Oh, I love the pick for this upcoming year. I think he's going to have a really productive.
It's my pick. I just read. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab my first receiver. I'm gonna grab Jalen Cropper. I'm looking at my big board. Technically, I have 2 QBs at the top of my board right now, but that's because usually this is where I would be grabbing a QB in these 3rd and 4th rounds as my first QB, because you can get some serious value here. Like Sam Howell's still on the board. That is insane to me that we're about to go into the 4th round. Sam Howell might still be on the board. But again, Dustin Crum was there in the 2nd, so I just went ahead and picked him there. So I grabbed Jalen Cropper. I liked what I got. I like what I can get out of him this upcoming year. I'm going to grab some water. Xavier, you go ahead and talk about your pick.
Well, I have one more pick, one more person to wait for, but I am looking at between running back and quarterback. It's just the dilemma of, all right, can I wait for this guy? Even though it's a short wait. So I think I'm more going to lean towards quarterback because I'm going to get way better value here, especially for some of the names that Jared left off. And I'm going to see if going back and forth between my sheet. And hopefully nobody's taken the player that I would like. Okay, so Chris Olave. So yeah, I will be taking a quarterback here. I will be taking Sam Howell. Yeah, I'll go with Sam Howell.
Yeah, I like that pick there too. I mean, they ran the ball a ton last year, but they lost both those running backs. I think they're going to have to rely on Howell's arm a little bit more this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do love, as we get in the later rounds, I think Ty Chandler will be picked up by one of us or somebody else. But, yeah, it's not going to be the same as a Javonte Williams or a Michael Carter, that type of production. I think that was like just a once in a season that what we saw with them. There's the guy that I was contemplating about.
Right afterwards.
Yeah, I was like, man, could I wait on Broussard or not? And it's fine. There's still some good value at running back, but I think I got a really good quarterback to pair with my receivers. So.
I like, what do you guys think about Jerome Ford for this upcoming year? From just strictly, obviously, CFF perspective.
Oh, so you guys
I like Jerome. Yeah, especially, replacing Dokes and what he did for Cincinnati, and Jerome Ford coming in that role where, watching a few of those games where Ford did, a lot of my running backs are being taken.
Mm-hmm.
Man, all right, we'll just we'll take a guy that will that's expected to have a good year. We'll take
Xavier, you stole my guy. You stole my guy. You sniped me.
I had to get a running back. But yeah, still talking about Jerome Ford, from what we saw from the limited sample size that we got, I mean, he played a few snaps and some garbage time minutes, but he showed potential to where he could he's easily that number 1 running back. I don't care who they probably recruited to come in or had a transfer or anything like that. And with Cincinnati and their offense, it's not like they have a true number 1 receiver eating up all those touches. So it's between him and oh God, why am I forgetting the quarterback? Desmond Ridder rushing the ball.
All right.
So I like the opportunity.
I just made my decision a lot easier. I was down between Reggie Roberson and Zay Flowers, and I'm just going to go ahead and take Zay Flowers here. Even if it came down to it, Reggie Roberson and Zay Flowers, I probably still would have gone Zay Flowers, mostly because I don't think Zay Flowers is going to get a ton of competition from the other receivers in that Boston College wide receiver room, and him and Jerkovich really do have something special in terms of their connection and finding the end zone. I think he's going to be fantastic for this upcoming year. Love grabbing him as my wide receiver 2 here. So Colin, what are you looking at here coming down the board?
Well, I'm leaning. I mean, there's somebody on the board that I think has a really high ceiling, and I'm not super confident in him. So I don't know if I'll end up taking him there, but he's also at a position that I don't think I need to take right now. So I'm looking running back here. I don't love the guys that are on the board, but there are 2 guys that I'm between at that spot. And then as I'm looking at it, there's still some wide receivers that I like a lot. So I think I can afford to wait maybe a little bit longer on a wide receiver, although being at the turn there makes it a lot tougher.
Yeah. I definitely would agree with you. Romeo Dubs just went off the board, and honestly, I kind of like him here definitely in the fourth round better than where he was going earlier this offseason in the second round. I think that Nevada offense is just going to have so many mouths to feed between him, Cole Turner, Torrey Horton's going to be demanding targets this year. Elijah Cooks is coming back from injury. You got Spiker, who just transferred there out of Washington. I'm pretty sure he transferred there for a reason. So I think that he's lost some value as the season's kind of gone on. But again, grabbing him here in the fourth, and I think Brandon the Champ, if I remember correctly, if I look at his team here real quick, no, that is his first wide receiver. I would like it better if it was his second wide receiver. He wasn't relying on him to be that number one wide receiver for his team. But in terms of the upside and the up and downness of Dubs each week, I think he would have been a great number two wide receiver for him to have here. So it's your turn now, Colin. Who are you looking at here?
So I'm gonna go with the running back I was looking at. I was kind of eyeing him up. That's Ulysses Bentley. He's a little undersized, so I don't love him for NFL future, but I think he's gonna smash this year at SMU. Especially with they're going to be breaking in a new quarterback. So, I think that they may maybe lean on the running back a little bit more there. So I like him a lot. Now, this next pick is the one that's killing me because I mentioned a couple of receivers that I like, and then they just went off the board. London, Rucker, Downs, all three guys I was looking at. So I don't know if I can afford to wait here and take the other guy that I wanted. I think I'm gonna have to take the wide receiver that I'm looking at now because I don't think he's gonna make it back to me. And Austin, if you're still watching, that one was for you.
Whoa.
It's probably fair. I know Xavier likes Wally a lot, so he probably may not have made it back to you there. I'll ask you this, Colin, because I've talked to Xavier about this, but I've learned I really hate picking on the turn in these drafts because you just have to wait so long for it to come back to you. Nobody can ever really make it back to you. This is something Mitch Hart and I talked about a lot when we were doing the Summa Cum Laude draft and everything. Because every time I let somebody go, I'd be like, hopefully they can make it back to me. They never made it back to me. Even Tuggle got picked one pick before I did when I wanted to wait on him. So do you kind of feel the same way? Do you like picking on the turn or?
I definitely do not like picking on the turn. I will say that. I liked having the first overall pick. Like I said, I think that made it pretty easy for me. But it does make the rest of the draft tough because sometimes you got to take guys that are, maybe deemed a little bit of a reach, but if they're your guy and you really believe in him, if you're not going to take him at that spot, are they going to last, 23 other picks to make it back to you? Probably not.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm definitely I'm looking at my big board here, and if you can't see it, I don't know if you guys can see how tiny that text is and everything, but all I see is quarterback. That's 9 quarterbacks in a row I have at the top of my board here. So I'm beginning to think that my draft board is telling me, hey, the value's at quarterback right now for me. And so I probably will definitely be taking a quarterback here. And again, I'm looking at a guy who should not be here in the 5th round, and I'm really hoping neither Nate nor Brandon take him here, because honestly, it would break my heart a little bit. But again, he would definitely be more than helpful for me to take out. He would definitely be more than helpful for me to not worry about those first 3 weeks with Dustin Crum and everything. Definitely would help on that front. So fingers crossed that he's not taken here. I have a feeling he's gone. Oh, there's one QB off the board. All right, Nate.
Oh,
Nate's gonna know.
Nate's gonna know. Nate's gonna know. He's gonna take him. I bet you he's gone. I guarantee you he's gone. Come on, Nate. Don't do it to me. Don't do it to me. Oh, thank God, Nate. All right. Well, I'm taking CJ Stroud here.
Yep.
Nice.
This is going to be your starting quarterback.
Ceiling.
This is going to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State this upcoming year. There's no reason for me not to take him here. I usually don't take 2 QBs in the first 5 rounds, but the value's just falling to me here. Like, CJ Stroud should not be in the round 5. Dustin Crum should probably not make it out of the first round, especially since you can pick up so many good quarterbacks to take over those first 3 weeks later on. Again, CJ Stroud, I wish I was able to pair him up with either Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, but they kind of went off the board well later than I thought, or they went off the board when I thought they would be, And I mostly didn't consider them because I thought CJ Stroud wouldn't be there as well. So yeah, Xavier, it's your pick now. Who are you going with?
I'm gonna go with somebody that have a share in our dynasty league. I'm gonna take a running back with a lot of upside, especially for the years to come. I'm gonna take Deuce Vaughn out of Kansas State.
Deuce Vaughn just already went off the board, my dude.
Wow, I was looking at my board and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take Deuce Vaughn. Wow, that is a live snipe. That was a good one. Wow. Okay, how much time do I have? 20-something seconds.
You got 20 seconds.
This changes a lot. Okay, then I guess I will take another value at. You know what? Actually, no. We'll stick with running back.
You got 10 seconds.
Let's see.
Don't get autoed. Don't get autoed.
Oh man, hold on.
Xavier,
I can't find them.
There it is.
I got auto. Oh, that's another guy I wanted to. It's fine.
That's not a bad consolation prize.
Yeah, it's not a bad. It was definitely between him and there was a running back I really wanted, but I couldn't. I don't know why. I should have. Yeah, that's on me.
So Xavier, who were you going to? I would say, do you want to talk about who you're going to go with? Or you're going to hope that he makes it to you?
Actually, I think I can get him. So it actually might work out. Let me actually get on this player immediately.
All right, Xavier, I'm gonna take a look. I'm gonna take a look and see what you got here. So you got Sam Howell and Grayson McCall. That could be a great combo for you right there.
Oh, absolutely. Now I'm just trying to fill up this running back room. All right, volunteers, don't do this to me. I need this running back.
He's probably scouting it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, all right, looks like he took Calvin Turner.
Oh, thank God. I didn't want to. I'm good. I don't need anything from that Hawaii offense. All right, we're taking Rachaad White out of Arizona State.
That's a nice one. That's a nice pick there.
I definitely like that pick a lot. Oh, Dorian Thompson-Robinson goes off the board. So I was heavily considering grabbing a wide receiver here because I see two wide receivers I do love, and I love grabbing them as like a 2 and 3 if I can ever get them. This is one of those duos that I do love when I'm on the turn. I can easily pick up these two wide receivers, but I'm looking ahead. I'm looking at the running backs I have ahead of me, and I don't trust that I'm going to get the value of running back that I want coming back for my second running back. So I'm going to go ahead and pick one of these guys that I have here for my second running back.
Don't do it.
Actually, no, I'm looking at it. I'm like,
I have a feeling you're going to take the guy I'm looking at. I don't even know if he'll make it to me.
I got 20 seconds left. We're going to go Travell Harris, wide receiver out of Washington State.
Okay. All right. So I like that pick. I'm glad you didn't go running back, though.
I went back and forth because I'm looking, again, it was going to be running back or wide receiver here to kind of fill up my starting lineup here. Honestly, actually, you know what? I went on a whole tangent on Twitter the other day where I was talking about how, Brandon DeChamp just took Justin Hall. That was the other guy I was looking at for wide receiver. I went on a whole tangent here where Cole Turner was going, I would not take him in round 6, but honestly I should have thought about it here, and I'll tell you guys why. Because I was kind of okay with either wide receiver or running back, the value that would have fallen back to me after regardless of who I picked and everything. Cole Turner I probably should have considered here. Look, Demontre Tuggle goes off the board there. He was definitely one of the running backs that I was considering there. Dante Wright is one wide receiver I think is going too high right now, and that's mostly because I don't trust Steve Addazio to know what the hell to do with him. He's very much a gadget kind of player.
Yep.
He's going to be a guy that you need to create plays for. He's not your kind of prototypical wide receiver that you just kind of send out there to make plays on the perimeter and stuff like that. So I think again, you would need to have somebody who knows what they're doing, and I cannot trust Steve Addazio to do that with a wide receiver.
Yeah, I think that's something that's definitely valid to be concerned about, because there weren't really any fantasy relevant wide receivers when Addazio was in Boston College.
Oh, hell no. All right, Derek King goes off the board in round 6. There we'll have that debate another day. Or if you want to have it now, you can. Again, I think Derek King's going too low is basically what I'm saying. I think for a guy that with the rushing ability and being able to get you 30, 40 points every single week or any given week, I think he's going way too low, especially if you're looking at him as your QB2. Because that's the value he's going at right now, easily.
Yeah, I always have worry now. Like I know now where we have modern medicine and people are coming back from ACL injuries a lot faster, but it was just like Miami's O-line is still not the greatest thing in the world, and I think he's still going to take hits and still have to be on the run. I love his arm. I love his rushing ability because I had shares of him last year. But I don't know. Jack Garcia looked really good, and I loved what Manny Diaz had to say about him and what he raved and said. It was looking. Oh man, he took Cole Turner and Chris Smith. Oh man,
I did. Entman's Coffee Cakes liked the Chris Smith pick. That's the guy that I was worried that Jared was going to take.
I was considering it. I was considering it. I'm letting you know right now.
Yeah, I was worried when you were talking running back. I was like, I don't know if he's going to make it to me.
And you went ahead and grabbed Cole Turner again. I think it's too early for him, personally. Even though I just admitted I should have considered him. I probably still wouldn't have taken him, but I do think it's a little too early for that. Why do you think Cole Turner is worth taking a round or two earlier than all the other tight ends?
Well, again, this kind of goes back to me being on the turn here. I'm worried about being on the wrong end of a tight end run, and there's not a lot of guys that I like CFF-wise at the tight end position. So being on the turn, I would rather start the tight end run a little bit and pick him maybe a round too early. Because I think that, they did bring in Spiker. They do get Elijah Cooks back as well. So the target competition there is a little bit steeper than it was last year. But I still think Cole Turner is going to be heavily involved in that offense. And again, like I said, just not a lot of other options that I feel great about. And I'm just worried about what I'm going to get stuck with at the end of, round 8, beginning of round 9.
That's fair. And again, I understood where Kevin was the one I was kind of debating on Cole Turner and everything. And he brought up good points and everything that we think this might be a good tight end coach or a tight end year coming up and everything. Because I do think this is a very deep league for tight end for CFF. But he mentioned that there's going to be 4 or 5 tight ends every single year that are going to be great for fantasy. And I told him Kohler, Dolchich, Weidermeyer, I forget the fifth guy I named off the top of my head, but those are going to be your 4. But those guys are going 2-3 rounds later. I'd much rather grab one of those guys 2 or 3 rounds later, who to me have just as many question marks as Cole Turner does. And I could get them a round or 2 later while I stack up on running back and wide receiver. Speaking of running back, I definitely need to grab one here. Otherwise, I'm really going to fall behind here. It's my last starting spot that I need to fill up here. Again, typically, I probably wouldn't have grabbed my second quarterback until now because, oh my God, freaking Preston Hutchinson is still available. And that's a crime right here. That is very much a crime. The Preston Hutchinson, a guy... Again, as you can see right here, 30 points, fantasy points per game. Granted, all max schedule and everything, but even still, with his rushing ability and how many times he's going to be stealing those goal line touchdowns, absolutely going to be a killer value here. And I would absolutely be grabbing him if I didn't already have Dustin Crum and CJ Stroud. So
yeah, Hutchinson was the other guy I was looking at if I didn't go Turner there.
You have 2 wide receiver or quarterbacks. You still have all your Malik Willis.
Still just have Willis. I'm willing to wait on him because I think that there's a couple guys a little bit later too that I can get that I believe in. I think they're going to have big years this year, and I don't see them on the. I have my thing sorted just by ADP because I'm kind of going off of that, bouncing back and forth between that and fantasy points per game last year, and then
gotcha.
Because I'm not really using my C2C rankings because that's not really applicable for this. So
that is very fair, very very fair.
But there's a couple guys that are down a little bit lower that I think could have really nice years too. So I'm willing to wait a little bit longer.
All right, Xavier, you're up to pick here. Who are you going with?
Oh man, you took Tyler Goodson from me, but I'm not all too saddened by it. There was another running back that I kind of wanted for my flex, and that is Reese White out of Coastal Carolina to be.
Nice.
Go in my flex position. I think he's going to definitely take over and help Grayson McCall out, and having that connection, especially having Grayson McCall and then with CJ Marable gone. CJ Marable gone. Reese White is definitely primed to have similar production or maybe even better.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was a great pick there. I like Reese White. I'm on the Reese White bandwagon as well. I don't know what I think of him as an NFL prospect yet, but for CFF, yeah absolutely. He's one of the guys that I've been targeting.
Sean Polk goes off the board. I was really hoping to grab him as a stack between him and Dustin Crum. Ty Chandler goes off the board. He was the other guy I was considering along with Tyler Goodson. So Xavier, I think we're coming back to it's your pick here, Xavier. What are you going with?
We're gonna go wide receiver. If nobody has taken him yet, we're just gonna make sure. I'm gonna take a number 1. Let's see. Oh man, wait, did I spell his name wrong? I'm trying to take Ottman Bell out of Minnesota.
He's already been off the board, my dude.
He just went.
Wow. You got 30 seconds, my dude. Don't get auto drafts. You're going to be put on auto draft the rest of the draft.
Yeah, that's true. All right, we'll take another guy. We'll take Johans, Tyler.
Ketchup. That's the nickname that Nate has beaten into me on the Discord. John, by the way, I don't know if y'all are reading the chat and everything, but John Lobb has joined the chat, and he told me to tell Colin this is a real man's draft, and you need better CFF rankings. And he told Xavier, wake up, you need to learn how to use the queue.
Oh yeah, you're right. Absolutely right.
Well, John, I hate to break it to you, but I have 4 windows pulled up over here, and I am using your rankings. I'm going off of them loosely. So I'm not even using my own rankings here. I mean, I trust John's stuff, way more than my own.
Oh shoot, it's my pick. I turn off the horn. All right, so I would go wide receiver or running back here to add my flex, but Preston Hutchinson is still on the board, and that is a crime. So I'm taking him. That's a backup that's a backup quarterback for me. And oh my god. I feel like I just got juiced with something, grabbing Preston Hutchinson in the 8th round of something. My god.
I'm a little bit upset you took him there. I still need another quarterback.
Yeah, again, there's still plenty of good quarterbacks here. Again, this next tier of quarterbacks coming down, I think, is where I typically would kind of look for like a semi-later, mid to late round quarterback for my second quarterback if I wasn't getting a value like CJ Stroud and Preston Hutchinson. One thing I did want to talk about with you, Colin, because you're a C2C guy, and I did want to talk about the C2C. I finally did a C2C draft. Finally got some experience with that and everything. And I can't tell you how much fun it was as a CFF guy, grabbing some of these like top tier CFF guys late in these rounds. And I know that like they're not the biggest NFL upside guys and everything, but they could be. Exactly. Like stats grab attention from the NFL and everything. At least they get you pointed in the right direction. It's definitely better than betting on a guy who, the talent out of high school is there, but if he's the number 2 or 3 wide receiver on a team, maybe the NFL is not looking at him as much. Regardless of all that, I had a ton of fun because I was grabbing guys like Dustin Crum in round 12, and I was like, it was a ton of fun for me and everything. And I felt like if I was actually in that league, I probably would have won the college side year 1. Don't ask me about after that. I felt like I could have worked on it from there, but I had a good time. And if y'all ever get a chance, you should definitely do these C2C drafts. They're a ton of fun. Xavier, you need to get involved in one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we're running mocks all the time. We just brought on Dynasty PJ to help run some of those because, I mean, Austin was running those. Austin was writing articles, left and right, cranking out a lot of content. He does 3 pods a week. So, we were happy to bring somebody else on to run them. But, PJ I think he's run 4 mocks already.
Wow.
So he's cranking these out. He's just running these out left and right, Xavier. So if you want to hop in, we're always running them.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I'll definitely try to get on the next one, man.
With my pick coming up here, I feel like I gotta. Well, I'm surprised nobody else took a tight end, so now I look a little foolish.
Again, that to me is the the price you pay with Cole Turner a little bit, because you can absolutely look at somebody. Or again, Colin, if people started taking tight ends there, you would have looked like a genius. But now,
right,
you are not beating on my guess or anything like that. But
No,
you
you're
are
good.
looking a little bit like a fool for taking him that early, since you could have gotten him here instead.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe I don't even get him here, but maybe I get Dolchich here, or maybe I get
Weidermeyer,
Sean Dykes here, Weidermeyer.
That's who I was trying to think of earlier.
So we'll take Sky Moore here as my third wide receiver.
I like that. Is it a little worrying to you that last year he was supposed to be that number one guy, and he got outshone by Dwayne Eskridge? Do you think that maybe that might affect his value this upcoming year?
I think that Eskridge moving from cornerback to wide receiver was something that people didn't really predict.
Fair enough.
At least from what I've seen. I'm not really all that up to date on Western Michigan. I especially going into last year, with COVID year and everything like that, there wasn't a ton of news. So I'm a little bit worried about it, but I still want that Western Michigan wide receiver.
Very fair. Also, I guess 15 seconds for your next pick. Who are you going with?
Man, this one's a little bit tougher for me here.
10.
There's still a couple quarterbacks that I like. So
5.
I think this is a little early.
4.
But I'm going to take your boy.
Oh, that was one I had queued up.
So, Colin, everything I have read, and I know a lot of people don't want to believe this because it's a Georgia offense, and there's a lot of people out there coming around who don't believe in the Georgia offense, and I get it. History is on your side. Everything I have read from insiders has said that Jermaine Burton is going to be fed the ball so much this year, and you can take it to the house that he will have over 1,000 yards this upcoming season. And let's see, you got him as your fourth wide receiver. I think that's more than good enough value. I think absolutely. I think you absolutely got a great value there. He could be a plug and play wide receiver for you every single week this upcoming year.
That's kind of what I'm hoping. I mean, I think the ceiling is really high, and I think that this year, and I'm not a Georgia expert like you guys are, but I think Georgia's offense is going to be a little bit more. They're going to pass the ball a little bit more than what we're used to. They still do have Milton there. They still have Zamir White, Edwards. They still have that normal stable of backs, but with a quarterback like JT Daniels, and I think Todd Monken too, is going to want to push the ball a little bit more than what we're used to. So I think the volume's going to be nice, and then hearing you hype him up as potentially 1,000-yard wide receiver, like that's just icing on the cake. Yeah,
I think it's going to be fantastic. Now, I wouldn't bet on any other Georgia wide receivers other than, outside of the wide receivers, I probably wouldn't bet on anybody else. Darnell Washington, I do think is going to be a value this upcoming year. Again, insiders are saying that the mainstays in the Georgia offense this upcoming year are likely going to be Jermaine Burton, Kearis Jackson, Darnell Washington. Those are going to be the guys you're going to see on the field a whole ton. And then every other wide receiver is probably going to get mixed in and out. So you're Eric Gilbert, Rosemary, Jack Saint. You're going to see, you're going to be seeing Justin Robinson. Like those guys are going to be rotating in and out. The other three I just mentioned are probably going to be your guys that are going to be on the field the most often. So it's my turn now. I'm actually going to go ahead and grab a running back here who I think is going to be a great value this upcoming year. If he's anything like Demetric Felton, Bretton Brown.
Don't do this.
Bretton Brown is going to be, I think, a fantastic flex for me this upcoming year. I like what I could get out of Bretton Brown. His receiving work, if he's anything like Demetric Felton, and from what I've heard out of camp and everything, his receiving game is what's keeping him ahead of Zach Charbonnet in that rotation right now. And so if he is that number one guy there at UCLA, he's going to be more than worth it here as a flex option for me. So I'm liking that a lot. Xavier, you just took Zach Evans.
I like that pick.
Yeah, I did take Zach Evans.
I like both of those picks.
Yeah,
you want to talk about Zach Evans?
We'll talk about Zach Evans at TCU. Like with all the running backs. Oh man, I'm trying to remember. You know the running back that just transferred out.
Darwin Barlow.
Darwin Barlow went to USC, if I'm not mistaken. And with that gone, Zach Evans was like their highest, I think, yards per rushing after Barlow after this past season, and I just like how it's TCU is just going to run through him. So I'm really excited about Evans this upcoming season and what TCU is going to do. So I just went with Zach Evans.
Yeah, I love that pick there.
So who are you looking for here now, Xavier? You're back on the clock.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with a tight end, and I believe if he's still available, where is my guy? There he is in my queue. Thank you, John. I started using it way later than I needed to. Yeah, we're going to go with Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame.
Nice.
Oh, you didn't take the guy I thought you were going to take. I was about to get angry at you because I'm going to go ahead and take my tight end here. I'm going to take Jalen Weidermeyer.
Yeah.
So what made you go Michael Mayer there over Weidermeyer? I thought you loved Weidermeyer.
I do love Weidermeyer. I loved him with Kellen Mond. I loved him a lot with Kellen Mond. I'm not a Haynes King believer yet, and I am one of those guys that believe like with young quarterbacks, they love to play with they love to use their tight ends as safety nets, especially in receiving work. So it will be interesting to see, but it's just from that spring game and from I'm not hearing much about Haynes King, so it's just a lot of up in the air. I'm like, are they going to have to use him for extra blocking? Is he going to need more time in the pocket? I just don't know much about Texas A&M. I love their running back room. That's going to be fine. It's just, in terms of their receivers and Weidemeyer as a receiving option, that's what I'm worried about. So that's kind of why I've waned off. Michael Mayer, even though he does have a new quarterback, I love Tyler Buckner. I really hope he gets that starting job, or if it's Drew Pine or anybody else, I think they're going to be fine. And Mayer is that one of those big bodies where I don't think it matters to him who throwing him the ball. He's just one of those big targets where you just throw it in the vicinity and he's going to get it. So
yeah, and I don't really love any of the wide receivers on Notre Dame either. So I think Mayer, there's a good chance that he could lead them in receiving. I mean, they do get Kevin Austin back, but he banged up a lot.
He got a ton of targets last year. His biggest problem was that they couldn't find the end zone with him. Yeah. Like I was shocked when I looked up the Notre Dame receiving game and everything, and like Michael Mayer, if I remember correctly, was like up there in like the top 2 or 3 in terms of targets and receptions for Notre Dame last year. It's just he never found the end zone. That's why he didn't show up in people's fantasy radar for so long.
Now we're starting to see some tight ends fly off the board a little bit here.
Yeah, again,
still about two rounds too early.
Yeah, Xavier, that was another thing I wanted to mention. Jaleel Billingsley was the number 2 tight end taken off. I'm starting to see the drumbeat for Jaleel Billingsley kind of coming from a lot of college side guys who really believe that outside of Mechie and everything, he could be the number 2 target in the Alabama offense this upcoming year. And honestly, deservedly so. He's a great tight end. I forget the guy's name who just left off the top of my head. I used to know this.
That's right. Forgot his name too, but I know they have Cameron Latou behind them, and I love what I saw from Latou and everything that Bill O'Brien was saying at a camp, that he's probably been the hardest worker, and he showed in that spring game as well too.
I think he's going to be great after Billingsley is gone, because he's transferred over from I can't remember. It was he just came over from the defensive side of the ball, so he wasn't he wasn't recruited as a tight end.
Yeah.
Also, Colin, you're heading up here, so are you finally going to consider taking your second QB here, Colin?
I am. I know which one. I like Malik Cunningham. He was one of the guys I was considering here. If he is, there's still one more pick before me here, so I got to be careful. But
there is one quarterback that I do kind of want to see back, but it's fine if you take him. I won't be mad.
Right,
I think I know who Xavier's looking at.
Yeah,
it's his boy.
Don't know if this is in.
Oh, Jake Heiner.
Yeah, this is another one where you're seeing a little bit of the C2C influence in me, because Felix has been hyping him up a lot, and Austin really likes the Fresno offense. Austin really thinks that they're going to do at least as well as they did the last year in terms of like volume and the passing attack, if not even better. So I think he's a high ceiling guy here, and then I'm gonna actually double tap quarterback here because I did wait. So I'm going to take another guy here that I think is a little bit safer of an option.
Okay, that's a good pick as well too.
So Xavier, I'm not going to take him, but were you worried about him taking Jaden Daniels here?
Oh, I completely forgot about Jaden. I don't know why it didn't even cross my mind. Jaden Daniels is still on the board. Why? I'm doing terrible, man.
I did not know he was on the board either.
Oh man, I'm watching the NBA game and looking back, but there was another guy. It's one of your guys, Jared, that I was interested in getting. But now that you mentioned Jaden Daniels, he's going in the queue. He's going in the.
Yeah, I did not realize he was he was still on the board. He's somebody that I would have been looking at as well.
You guys have been on it, but yeah, I definitely would love a share of Jaden Daniels.
All right, hold on. I'm coming back here in a second. I'm trying to respond to some people who are DMing me.
Ooh, I just noticed somebody else is still on the board here. That I kind of wish I had taken him over Cordero. I mean, I like Cordero. I don't regret the pick at all, but it's just I didn't realize there were a couple other people left on the board here still.
Mm.
Oh, and there goes Jaden Daniels, Kevin Brown.
Kevin. It's always Kevin.
Kevin Brown was listening, I bet.
Dude, I just got a text from Kevin Brown that said, tell Xavier there's no reason to put him in his queue.
Oh my God. Oh, Ladarius Jefferson off the board.
Oh,
God.
Lord in heaven, that's hilarious. No, Ladarius I was hoping for.
That's what I was hoping for as well, too. So you just sniped me.
Oh, yeah, I definitely would have sniped you there.
I was looking at him. I've heard good things. Oh, man, that's tough.
Kevin,
immediately
update y'all on the chat and everything. So Kevin Coleman asked, how's Colin doing? I said, dreadful, the worst I've ever seen.
Thanks, Kevin.
Kevin agrees that Buckner should start, but Kelly is awful, and he won't let him.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm trying to think anything here. As Colin came up, Kevin said, here comes a reach.
Oh, it's your pick.
Oh, it's my pick? Shoot.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go running back here. I wanted Ladarius Jefferson. He's off the board. So I'm going to go with a guy here who I think is going to provide me a safe floor because he's back with his old coach. I want David Bailey, running back out of Colorado State.
Nice.
Dude's going to get just stuffed like a Thanksgiving turkey full of carries, and I think he's going to provide great value, especially this late, round 11. Like, I'm surprised this guy's not going up near the kind of earlier mid rounds. Also, Lob is continuously telling me, use my queue. Mr. Gridiron Scholar, my rankings that you see here are my queue. I painstakingly ranked all my people here. Cameron Carroll out of Tulane, definitely an interesting one, but I've seen a lot of people hyping up Spears coming into this season. So I'm not sure he would be a very safe pick here in the 11th round, but you know, we're in backups and everything. So if you like your guy, you like your guy. This is definitely one. Yeah, this is like Kevin Brown was telling me with the whole Cole Turner thing and everything, where he's like, if you you have to go get your guys. I agree. You definitely need to go and get your guys later rounds. Early rounds, like there's going to be guys that you just kind of have to take. Like you're not going to.
Yeah, that's the
Caleb Ellaby. Did not realize he was still on the board when I took Cordero.
All right, so I wanted to take a wide receiver here, but Xavier, you're an asshole, and you took my guy from me. So
when you're speaking about my guys, I was like, yeah, Jared, I love your guys a lot too. Oh, Trey Henderson,
upside.
I'm getting it, man. I'm getting it here in the late rounds. Like it's actually, I just realized, is Master T drafted?
Nope.
Yes.
Oh wait, yes.
Yes, he was. Kevin Brown took him.
Yeah.
He took him on an auto pick. So that's probably one that he probably wants back a little bit, maybe. I don't know. Not sure how high he's on Master T. Phil Dragovich is absolutely a quarterback I would have considered here in these rounds. Again, if I hadn't already gotten Preston Hutchinson at his value. I would have loved to have paired him with Zay Flowers as my wide receiver number 2. So coming back here, Xavier, who are you picking up here now?
Oh, we're going to start it. Because I don't think I'm going to make it back to a good defense.
All right. Now that one's off the board, I'm not taking a defense until like the last round.
I know.
That's pretty much how I've gone with defenses. Alabama, I would probably consider here as well. But honestly, it's just I'm not feeling it. So All right, so we're looking here. Actually, I got 42 seconds. I'll be honest. I'm kind of looking ahead here. I want a wide receiver, but none of these guys here are really that, like, really speaking to me.
The defense.
I'm considering it.
Do it for the
because I also want to diversify, but I don't want to take guys I've already taken before in drafts. But he's here. We're at what, pick 136? I have this guy ranked 82 overall. I'm taking Jalen Mitchell, the upside of the Louisville running back. I was
looking at him in my spot.
Again, if he is the real deal for this upcoming year, this is a steal here in the 12th round. There goes the Alabama DST. So I'm glad to know that I wasn't super crazy when I was actually legitimately thinking about taking them here. So Colin, who are you looking at here now as we're coming back down to you?
Well, I was gonna take. I was looking pretty heavily at Jalen Mitchell, so that one throws a wrench in my plan here a little bit, and makes me feel better that was like a good pick there at least. Tyler Beatty was one of the other ones I was looking at here, so we're seeing some running backs coming flying off the board here. So I'm gonna take my guy, assuming he makes it to me. We got 2 more picks, but the guy that I'm looking at is a guy that I take in a lot of different places here, especially in C2C leagues. But I think he's going to have a huge year this year, even in the college side. So I think he's going to put up a lot of production. And I feel fairly good about my running backs with Smith, Bentley, and Eric Gray. Eric Gray's as my RB1. I don't love, like you were alluding to earlier here, but I think the guy that I'm looking at here might be able to be an RB1.
All right. Charlie Kohler goes off here in round 12, 2 rounds later than I was taken. I usually kind of see him go. I think part of that has to do with the fact that Charlie Kohler is a very unsexy tight end pick, even though he is a good one. Like, he's not going to be the guy that gets you a huge play and a touchdown, but he is going to be the guy that gets you like 6, 7, 8 targets every single week. And as a tight end, that provides you just a super safe floor. I don't know. I do see it. Okay, Deshaun Corbin, I think is good. Okay, you took 2 big upside guys here.
Yeah,
so you want to talk about your two double dip at running back here?
Yeah, so Corbin's the guy that I was talking to, where I think he could have a really big year this year. I like Mike Norvell running backs. I mean, we've seen what he was able to do at Memphis, and I think Deshaun Corbin's going to be the lead back there, but. And we've also seen 2 running backs in Mike Norvell offenses be very successful. So even if, Toafile or DJ Williams, even if any of those guys siphon off, even if it's a 60-40 split or even 50-50, I think Deshaun Corbin can still have a really nice year. And then Jace McClellan just upside. If he ends up being the guy for Bama, I think that was a big swing there.
He's a very easy cut because I think with a Bama running back room, you could probably figure out how they're going to be splitting that carries a couple weeks in. And if it's not going Jace McClellan's way, like you're not seeing him earn more carries week after week, very much you're probably going to just, realize that you got the number 2 or 3 running back on Bama's offense. And it's just, I think, an easy cut at that point. It's not like people will be looking for him because he won't be in the headlines. So... wide receiver, I still want to take a wide receiver, but like the guy at the top of my queue is Keelan Stokes, and I'll be honest, I don't know why I have him ranked this high. I'll be real. It's not. I'm not super like he's not a guy that I'm looking at. I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to draft him. Let's see some other wide receivers I'm taking here. Marcel Barbie. I love Marcel Barbie in best ball. Best ball. He could easily take over as that wide receiver 1 any given week. But the problem is Texas State plays a lot of teams where they can easily get drowned out by even their offense is good when they go up against a bad defense. But as soon as that defense has any kind of semblance of, competency, they seem to struggle a little bit, especially on the receiving game.
Nice pick by CFF.
I agree.
He was queued up.
I agree.
Queued up.
So I'm going to take, let me just double check who I have looking at here. It is my pick. All right. I'm going to take the guy. Oh, they did change Eric Gilbert now to wide receiver. Dang it. I need to change his ranking then. So I'm going to just go ahead and take the wide receiver. Again, I'm drafting for need here. I shouldn't, but I do feel the need to take a wide receiver. I'm going to take Tyler Snead, wide receiver out of East Carolina. He's going to be the number one wide receiver for them this upcoming year. CJ Johnson, I felt, just struggled too much last year. A lot of stock down on him. I know he had that breakout freshman campaign, but I think Tyler Snead really passed him up last year as soon as the drop problems kind of came up with CJ. And so I am going to go with him. And I don't love him, but again, he's my backup wide receiver, so I'm happy to kind of plug him in here if I need to. So Xavier, who are you going with here?
This is tough. It's between two guys. One is probably going to win the number one. That's what I believe. And the other one is a solid number two, or he could still be a number one. You know what? I'll just do it because I want to take your advice and not draft the same players.
Coffrey Brown, nice.
That's a very good upside pick in my opinion. All right, the Army DSC just went off the board. I would not consider them the number 3 defense coming into this year, but running that triple offense and everything, they keep scores low, so maybe not the biggest jump in the world. Danny Gray is starting to become a wide receiver I love grabbing late. I think, again, if people are right about Reggie Roberson and any kind of injury-prone problems he might have, Danny Gray is easily going to take over as the number 1 wide receiver there. I don't think it's going to be Rashee Rice as much as I like Rashee Rice. Danny Gray really kind of came out of nowhere for me last year, and I do think that he is absolutely going to be the guy if Reggie Roberson goes down. Xavier, you took Max Johnson. You taking your Grand Slam pick here?
Yeah, we're taking the Grand Slam. That's going to be my third and final quarterback of this draft. If he wins that job, then I really double dip for a lot of these picks. I have the LSU connection of my Max Johnson and Kayshon Boutte, and I have Reese White and Grayson McCall. So I like what I did there. I that's a strategy that I don't mind to do once in a while, depending on if it's available. But yeah, I do believe in Max Johnson. I like what I saw towards the end of the year, and I hope Orgeron goes the way that I think he's going to go, of like continuing with the hot hand. I love Miles Brennan's talent and what he did in the beginning of the year, but it's just the injuries just concern me. And also it's going to be a little bit I don't know, like conflicting to just, hey, you have a guy that, won you the rest of the games throughout the rest of the season. Just like, hey, we have to put this other guy in and have him take a year behind, which it just depends on the quarterback and how Max Johnson chooses to take that. If he chooses to transfer out, then that's up to him. But I think it's going to be Max Johnson at LSU.
Yeah, I think that was a really good pick there. I think that's a high ceiling especially at this point in time.
Yeah.
As we're getting on to my pick here, there's a guy that I want to take, but I know he's not in the system yet. So I feel like I can talk about him here. Mookie Cooper is a guy that I want to take. I think he's going to have a big year. I think he's going to be a huge, huge part of that Missouri offense. But I know he's not in Fantrax yet. So that's one of the guys I would be looking at here. But I am pretty thin at wide receiver. So
yeah, that's kind of my thing. I took wide receiver early in this draft. And if this was a real league, I would love my starting lineup. And I hate my bench for wide receivers so much. I have 3 great running backs, in my opinion, for bench guys. I know a lot of people are not super high on Zamir White for this upcoming year. I took my obligatory Bulldog, took Zamir White this time. Last year, Zamir White, I believe, in the first 6 games, scored a touchdown in every single game. So he provides a very, very safe floor for running backs. And I do believe that's going to continue for the most part of this upcoming year. I know a lot of people are concerned about Kendall Milton, but if that is the case, Zamir is my 7th running back I've taken this draft.
Ooh.
So I think that makes it an easy cut for me down the line if I need it to be. Let's see.
Those are
Colin,
2 great picks. I love those.
Colin, you took one of my boys. Not that I was thinking about drafting him here, but he is definitely one of my guys I would target in C2C. I love Kyron Lacey. Xavier loves Jeff Foreman. Are you just trying to like suck up to us here? Is that what's going on?
I mean, you're 2 extremely smart CFF guys. You got this is chasing the Natty. I listen to that pod, all the time. So I get a lot of the CFF takes from there. So it's not surprising. It shouldn't be surprising to you guys that I took 2 of your guys. But I think Jeff Foreman, Xavier, I'm with you there on Foreman. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that it's Rucker. I think it's leaning that way. It's probably 60-40 that it's going to be Rucker, but that 40% chance that it could be Foreman this late, I'll take him. It could be an easy cut a little bit later, but huge ceiling there. And then Kyron Lacey too. I think he's going to be the guy in that offense, and it's a little more of a run heavy offense, but I think they'll funnel it to him a little bit more. So, but probably another guy that'll be an easier cut a little bit later if I need to.
Yeah, I was surprised when Kevin Brown drafted Dahu Green before Foreman. I was like, man, you probably
I like Dahu. He's just very injury prone.
Yeah.
All right, so I said I was going to take DSC in the last round, but I decided to take it just a little bit earlier here because I didn't trust that. I want one share of Coastal Carolina at the very least because that schedule they have for this year is so soft. And so I feel like that's going to be a week in, week out play for me. I have no problem taking them there. Georgia went right afterwards. That would have been another big DSC I would have been looking at here. There's just a lot of good options. Damn it, Xavier, you took the running back I was looking at. So talk about Mr. Toa.
Yeah, the backup running back. That wasn't my flex. Well, I had Zach Evans as well, but I love Toa in that Nevada offense because when they're not, spreading the ball around, then he's definitely that ground and pound guy, especially, and definitely going to get a lot of those goal line carries because Carson Strong will not be doing that.
There's a lot of great value at tight end here at the end of this draft. That's what's kind of surprising me. Isaiah Likely's still on the board. Brant Kuth's still on the board. Like, those are guys that I expected to go a couple rounds earlier. Well, Volunteers just took Hendon Hooker. He's staking his claim there and everything. This is coming back to me, Xavier. You're on the clock. What's your final pick here, Xavier?
You know what? I'm gonna go with my guy. I love LV.
LV Shelton, nice.
I would definitely agree.
Yeah. I do love I love Arizona State's wide receiver room. I do like Elijah Badger as well from what I'm hearing. But I think LV just has more of the experience and will definitely get that number one role with Jaden. So it's all right.
I just found this funny in the chat here. Some CFF Nate asked who wins the Vols QB job, and then I would do drafted Talia Tagovailoa, and I don't know why I found that funny. Just be like, Talia Tagovailoa wins it. It'd be like, that would be a hell of an alternate reality. All right, so I'm up here. I'm going to take a wide receiver, and Xavier, you got me thinking. I'm just going to take my guy here, and I'm going to take my piece of what I think could be a great piece for the Nevada offense. I'm going to take Elijah Cooks, coming back from injury, taking a rest from last year and everything. The one time he did play last year, he outshone Dubs in that game. So I think he could easily take back over that number one role at Nevada this upcoming year. And to grab him here in the last round, I love more than anything else. So Xavier and I are finished. Colin, we're coming back down to you. Colin, who do you want to have as the Mr. Relevant of this draft?
Well, it's going to be a defense.
That's right. You haven't gotten a DST.
There's one good one. There's one good one.
Let me take a look to see if I can pick out who's the good one.
There's still one more good. I think Kevin's going to probably take it, or either Kevin's just not going to pick a defense at all.
Yes, in redraft, in NFL redraft, I do usually follow the approach where I don't take a defense at all. But since this is a mock, I'll still take a defense. He'll fill out the lineup.
See, the thing is, defenses, I think, are more valuable in CFF than they are in NFL, mostly due to the fact that they're up. Kevin Brown took the last good DSC, in my opinion.
I had that one queued up.
But, you can still get that stack, Colin. That stack is still available. I was telling you about at the beginning of the draft. Regardless.
It is.
But in CFF, parity is non-existent in terms of the teams that face and everything. So you have to look for those teams that are going to dominate their schedule week in and week out. And because when a Georgia defense goes up against Charleston Southern, there's a good chance that Charleston Southern does not score that game. So you just know to play them. Versus the NFL, any team could score any number of points each week, in my opinion. like it's a lot harder to predict like how a game is going to go in the NFL. Like that's why the spreads in those games are a lot closer than you see in college. All right, so I think Entman is actually gone already, so I think he's going to auto pick somebody here. He went Georgia Southern defense here. Not too bad here. Roughnecks. And in this is show Florida, we have a mobile QB too. That's pretty great. Again,
I think there's one more defense left, just maybe one more.
There's a couple good ones here left on the board, but again, do the stack, Colin. Do the stack. Pressure.
I mean, I'm looking at this this opening week schedule here, and there's not a lot of options that I like. And now, like I said, I've never played CFF before here. So how is streaming defenses week to week? Is that something that is like a viable strategy in this?
Very much so. Very much so. Usually,
I think
usually in the leagues that I go with, I have a deep enough bench where I can hold at least one more DST. Usually, I have one mainstay DST and then another one where I can kind of switch in and out week to week.
Okay. Well, yeah. Then in that case, yeah, I'm going to go with your stack here. Liberty plays Campbell in week 1. I don't even know who Campbell is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean they'll get Campbell in week 1, and they probably should smash them, and then they get Troy in week 2. So either way, there's 2 weeks right off the bat that I think that they're going to definitely be at least startable. They're not playing anybody that's any good. So whereas some of these other defenses, in week 1, they have some tough schedules. Like, Wisconsin, Penn State, they play week 1. That's going to kind of take both of those guys off the board a little bit for me. I was looking maybe Pittsburgh too, but their schedule a little bit later gets a little heavier. So yeah, I think Liberty was the way to go there with the Jared stack.
Yep. Again, Mitch and I were talking about that a couple weeks ago in the Summa Cum Laude draft. We thought that was a great stack we could do there. All right, so the draft is done. Do y'all want to kind of go over your teams and everything? Talk about who you might want to, like, where you thought you could have done better, what you like and everything. Xavier, you like to brag. Let's start with your team.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, it's just amazing. I have 2 elite, probably top 5 receivers in Kayshawn and Traylon Burks. Then I got Sam Howell in the 3rd round. And then to follow that up, I had Chris Rodriguez. And then I did have the mistake of the Grayson McCall pick, but I did want a second quarterback, so I was still able to get Rashad White. So, but then after that, it was a little bit it started to get a little bit thin to where a lot of my guys were taken. So Johannes Taylor, I love the pick wide receiver from Ball State. Probably wasn't – let's see. Brendan Presley, I could have definitely there was a few receivers I definitely could have gotten. I wish I could take that pick back, but it's fine. It's either here nor there. I love my Zach Evans pick. I think he's going to have a good season as well. Michael Meyer, I love my tight end. My defense, I definitely started. I was like, I need to get the number 1. And lastly, I think the Max Johnson pick is the best thing I could have done for my defense. If he ends up winning that job, then I have 3 great top 10 caliber quarterbacks.
All right, Colin. Or I guess we'll talk about Xavier's team here real quick. So Xavier, I like that that quarterback combo is great. I typically don't go for 2 guys that early, but again, the QB value was there. This draft, guys were falling a lot later than I think they should have been. I think probably your biggest weak point is probably running back, mostly because I like Chris Rodriguez. I'm not sure that I'm entirely sold yet on him being a number 1 guy on your team, although he does provide what sounds like a very safe floor. Rashad White does have some upside if he can keep Trey Unum off of him. Your wide receiver core, I think, is fantastic. And again, Charleston Rambo is one of my guys, so I'm going to be happy about him. LV, I think, is a good upside pick. Same with Joffrey Brown. I like that a lot. Michael Meyer, probably got him a little too early, in my opinion. But, if he's your guy at tight end, grab him. You got the Clemson defense. I think you got a pretty solid team here. Oh, yeah. Colin, what do you think of Xavier's team?
I mean, you guys hit it on the head with that wide receiver core. I mean, that wide receiver core is stacked. I feel like, and like I said, I'm not as well versed on CFF, but I think that wide receiver core could probably carry you. and especially when you combine McCall and Howell at quarterback. Those are probably going to be two top 5, definitely top 10 options at the quarterback position. I do worry a little bit about Rachaad White. I mean, he gets a lot of the receiving work in the backfield, but I like Chip Tranum a lot. But either way, I think that's he's your RB2, and Zach Evans could also very, very easily be a fill-in for Rachaad White if that doesn't work out there. So yeah, I think that's a really solid team, top to bottom.
Yeah.
All righty. Xavier, you have anything else you want to say about your team? Debunk any concerns I might have had, or are we ready to move on to Colin's team?
I think that was it. I did take Toa from you, so I was pretty happy about that.
I was considering him again. I had so many running backs. We'll get to my team in a second here. So Colin, we'll go ahead and talk about your team. So what do you like and dislike about your own team here, Colin?
Well, I think the discussion with my team has to start off with the tight end position. I mean, that was something we talked about a little bit during the show here, and I got a little bit nervous that I was going to miss out on a couple of those top guys, and I don't feel great beyond the top, 5-ish tight ends. So round 7, being on the turn, I felt like I needed to take Turner there. Hindsight, it looks like it was a little bit of a reach. Now, I mean, I still feel like I got definitely a top 5 tight end. I think he could definitely be the top tight end, the tight end 1. So I feel good about it at least, but still feels like it might have been a round early. I like Willis. I like Haener at quarterback. I wish I had realized Ellaby was still there, because I would have taken Ellaby over Cordero.
That would have been a nice stack with Sky Moore.
Yeah. And then I think at the running back position, I feel good about that with Gray, Bentley, and Smith. And then also high upside with McClellan, Corbin on the bench, but also guys who could be easy cuts. And then my wide receiver crew, I mean, if you sub Burton into my starting lineup for Moore, that looks like that could have been straight out of a C2C draft. So you're starting to see some of my influence here. But I still think Jaden Walley could have a massive year. I think he could be a top 5 wide receiver this year if
he's healthy.
Offense.
Yes.
Yeah. Amechi, I think, is going to be the number 1 wide receiver in that offense as well. So I think that, like I said, I like the freshmen that they brought in, but they're still freshmen. So I think you got to take that into consideration. And then, like you talked about with the Burton pick, I think that was a high upside pick there as well.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and kind of say my thoughts here. Again, Malik Willis, Jake Haener.
Feel free to roast it. I'm used to being roasted on my pod, so I'll have at it.
Nah, we're a lot nicer than Austin over here. No, I'm joking. So Malik Willis, Jake Haener, I think there's 2 great quarterbacks for you there. I kind of agree with, and I mentioned earlier, I'm not sold with Eric Gray as the number 1 running back for your team. And I said that if you could get some kind of safer guys later, I'd feel a bit better. And I kind of feel like you didn't quite get that in my opinion. Ulysses Bentley, I think, will be, like you said, he'll be great in college. TJ McDaniel possibly could cut into him a little bit this year, but I think he was a very dynamic player last year. He had a lot of good work for them, especially with the new QB. That could be a great one for you. But the problem is, if Eric Gray doesn't work out, your backups are Jashawn Corbin and Jace McClellan. I liked Jashawn Corbin last year, and he burned me to hell. Very much did not get the workload that I needed last year, and Lawrence Toafili is kind of sneaking up there as a backup running back there that could easily take over that number 1 job. Now, again, these are easy guys you could cut in a real redraft league that I feel like you could easily go and find a surprise breakout on the waiver wire. But your running back room, I'm not entirely sold on. It could work out really well with Eric Gray and Ulysses Bentley, but behind them, I'm not feeling it. Oh, wait, that's right. You did get Chris Smith. Holy mackerel. Yeah, Chris Smith. That's a great pick. Chris Smith, great pick. Very much makes up for everything else. I forgot to look at the flex. Wide receiver core, I like it a lot. Again, the Jaden Walley injury risk. I'm not a huge injury guy. I don't like to project injury, but it is something to kind of consider here. But again, as your wide receiver too, I think it's great. Kyron Lacey, Jeff Foreman, kind of the same thing with Jace McClellan and Jashawn Corbin. Upside guys, easy to cut if they're not working out for you. And then, again, I already said my piece on Jermaine Burton. I think he's going to be a stud this year, and I kind of agree with Volunteers. He could easily swap in as your number 2 wide receiver on this team going forward. Tight end, you got Cole Turner 2 rounds earlier than I think you should have, but at the end of the day, you do have the tight end 1, more than likely. So I feel good about that. And then I like your Liberty DSC stack. So that's my piece on it. I'd give you like an overall, give it a B. I give you an overall B, maybe B plus for it. So Xavier, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm giving a similar B plus, but I'm doing the opposite of his running back. I love his running back room, especially like I love the upside of it. To where Eric Gray, you may not be as high on him, but I think Oklahoma just seemed like the perfect fit for him in terms of like what he can do on the ground and the receiving work that he does. To where in the culmination of that, and him coming from the SEC going to the Big 12, from that drop off of a defense, and it'll probably be a lot easier for him. So that's why I'm really high on him. Like I understand a lot of people are still like have a feeling that Kennedy Brooks may like as talented as he was 2 years ago. I think, you know, being removed from football for an entire year and then having it probably a more talented guy come in and take that role from you, especially with Oklahoma's offense and their play style. I think Eric Gray can thrive and be one of those top running backs, like maybe not like in the top those top 3 guys, but like somewhere in that Kyron Williams, Tank, Isaiah Spiller range. Ulysses, I like, even though like I know Colin mentioned earlier he didn't like him for the NFL because he's a little bit undersized, and I absolutely agree. I don't really like too many undersized guys that much, but seeing him play at SMU and the type of competition that he was playing, I like Ulysses Bentley for him being a freshman and him taking that workload on, especially when McDaniel before he got injured, and then or was it McDaniel that got injured, Jared? I forgot.
McDaniel was the one that got injured.
Okay, so when McDaniel went out, then Ulysses did a lot of good work. So I love to see, especially with the new quarterback, whoever probably going to be Tanner Mordecai. They're going to have to rely a lot. Not so much, but it's going to be a good option. And Chris Smith, yeah, absolutely love that pick. I think everybody loves that pick to replace
Elijah Mitchell
and Elijah Mitchell. And then I love Jason McCullough. I do think he's going to be that number 1 running back at Alabama, despite he only got limited work during the spring game, and it was like Roydell Williams. He was looking, a little bit viable. And then Brian Robinson Jr., obviously, I think he is what he is, and I don't think he's ever going to be like that prolific Najee or Josh Jacobs or anything like that. I think Jason's that next guy up. Jayshon Corbin, I don't know. I don't like Florida State at all. I like the talent that they're bringing in, and they're building something. But maybe Corbin, he definitely a year or 2 ago was definitely a good option. But like Jared said, last year he got burned, so maybe that will change. But it's definitely a cuttable guy. And then with your quarterbacks, Malik Willis, obviously the number 1 quarterback coming into this year. Hainer, I like too. Cordero, I thought, like you, I didn't see. I was waiting on Ellaby as well. Gone. Jaden Daniels is gone. So, you were under the assumption that these people were not there. So I still think that was a good pickup. And then with your wide receiver room, if Wiley's healthy, Mechie, I think is like, I'm with you. Even though a lot of people love Ajay Hall and some of the transfers like Jamison Williams, I think Mechie has just solidified to where I don't think anybody's getting in. Taking targets away from him for what he did. And Jermaine Burton, me and Jared, we talk about this, I think today, yesterday, every day, where we're just really excited about this Georgia offense. Sky Moore as well, too. And then Jeff Foreman definitely could be that number 1 or number 2. I am leaning a little bit more towards Corey Rutgers being that number 1, but I'd still have love for Jeff Foreman where he could still break off for a couple 100-yard games. And Cole Turner's number 1 tight end. I don't care. I think he's probably the best touchdown tight end threat in college football, especially out of the rest of the guys that we have so far, with a quarterback coming back that he knows and things like that. So yeah, overall, I'll give it a B plus with the Liberty defense as well too.
All right, I'll take that. And then just Volunteers mentioned Toafili. You guys mentioned Toafili as well. What I was reading too, Florida State wants to use him in the slot. Some
interesting. I have not heard that.
Yeah, and they want to use Corbin and Toafili on the field at the same time. So that I think I think Toafili is going to get a lot of like receiving work there, which definitely could cut into Corbin, especially in a PPR setting. But so that's another factor why I have Corbin a little bit higher.
I think
he could have a big year.
I think that's very, very fair. So I guess we'll go ahead and move on to my team here. I've kind of already hit how I'm feeling about this. I'll start with my wide receiver. I love my starting three. I do not like I'm not proud of how I handled my backup wide receivers because I have Elijah Cook and Tyler Snead. I think they're both going to be good options, but I feel like, I don't know. I think my biggest mistake was when I took Travell Harris, but there was another point where I was considering between running back and wide receiver. I went running back that time, and I missed out on guys like Eric Ezukama, who I would have felt a little better than some of the guys here, especially if he came back from injury. I would have felt better with Charleston Rambo was another guy that Xavier sniped on me that I would have felt a lot better with here on my bench. Tyler Snead, Elijah Cooks, I like them both. Not huge fans of that. Dustin Crum, CJ Stroud, Preston Hutchinson. I haven't gone through every team, but that probably, if I had to bet just looking at that, is probably the best QB room in this draft. Not bragging too much, but I like it a lot. Running back room, I felt a little weak starting off outside of Sincere McCormick. I was a little scared when we got down to Tyler Goodson as my second running back. I'm like, okay, I might be in trouble here, but I was able to grab Britton Brown, who I like a lot, Jalen Mitchell, David Bailey, Zamir White. I feel like at least two of those guys have to work out for me and provide me weekly starts, and I feel like they're going to be fantastic for me. Tight end, got Jalen Weidermeyer. Here's my number 2 tight end for the year. I think I got him at like tight end 4 or 5 maybe. Like he went kind of late this time. So I felt pretty good about that. Coastal Carolina defense, felt pretty good about that. And I think that's pretty much my team right there. So who wants to go first and roast me?
I'll let Jared.
Yeah. I was going to say, I like Jared's team. I did a lot. Where I don't know about the best QB room. You're definitely up there in contention. There's like 2 other teams, including myself, and I think it was who was this was looking at team. I think it was Team Kodo Monkey or somebody else. Yeah, I think it was Team Kodo Monkey that I was just like, yeah, I like his QB room as much as I do with yours, but and maybe I'll give you the edge, Jared.
Who does he have?
He has Matt Corral, Bryce Young, and KJ Jefferson.
Oh, no. I'd say Preston Hutchinson is definitely a tier above KJ Jefferson, but Bryce Hall and Matt Corral is scary.
Yeah. But Sincere McCormick, I love the pick for your running back, especially. I was surprised you didn't go Kayshawn, but you did go running back, so it was like, yeah, you got a good value there. A lot of people were saying in the chat that he could be the next Jared Patterson. In terms of production. So if that's a ceiling, oh man, you hit the lottery on that one. And then his floor is still pretty, still top 5 running backs. So I love that. Dustin Crum, CJ Stroud, 2 great quarterbacks and 2 great programs. Your running back room, you waited for a long time for your second running back. You got Tyler Goodson, but yeah, in terms of, I feel like Travell Harris was a good pick, but there were still like some good running backs available at the time. So I thought you were going to take a wide receiver or running back there. So then you got kind of left with Tyler Goodson, which is still viable. Then you went on with Britton Brown and David Bailey, who you're like, yeah, they work out. If they don't, they're cuttable. Jalen Mitchell, I'm a big Jalen Mitchell guy. I think he can definitely carry that Louisville offense. I know a lot of people are worried about the freshman that's coming in that might take away his carries, but I think Jalen Mitchell has earned that seniority of taking over for that program for the next year or so, or however long he's there, 2 years. And Elijah Cooks, I love the last pick where I know you convinced me about Romeo Dubs, and I was like, yeah. And then Cole Turner, and then Elijah Cooks, and so many other receiving options to where for you to get him as the last pick, and if he ends up being that number 1 for Carson Strong, then you probably had the steal of the draft with that pick. So overall, I liked it. Jalen Weidermeyer, Jalen Weidermeyer is Jalen Weidermeyer. We all feel great about Jalen Weidermeyer. So yeah, that's mainly it for me.
Yeah, I definitely, again, I maintain that if you want value out of the Nevada offense, you have to draft Carson Strong. That's where the value is going to run through if you want a week in and week out value. Now, again, you could hit home runs with Romeo Doubs, Torrey Horton, Elijah Cooks, Cole Turner, any and every week. But again, if you want consistency, it's going to come down to Carson Strong. Lee Rogers just asked in the chat, and I believe that's volunteers also in the draft just now. He said, does anybody trust David Bailey, as I was let down by David as an Eagle last year? I was too. I was let down by David Bailey last year. However, he's back with Steve Addazio, who is going to find a number one running back and stuff him like a Thanksgiving turkey, as I said earlier this draft. It's going to provide him a very safe floor. I don't think David Bailey's the most talented running back in the world. He's certainly no A.J. Dillon. But again, to me, 20, 25 carries a game is going to provide a safe enough floor for even the most middling of running backs. I feel very safe with that, especially if I can grab him here as my fourth running back off the board. So I feel pretty good about that. Colin, you ready to roast me?
Well, I don't think there's a whole lot to roast there. Like Xavier touched on there with Travell Harris, I was kind of surprised he went. I mean, it's not a bad pick by any means. I think that Travell Harris is, as your wide receiver 3 is great. I was just surprised he didn't go with your boy Demontre Tuggle, but I'm guessing maybe you wanted to diversify your teams up a little bit. That's kind of
the main thing is like I don't want to draft Tuggle every single round because I'm probably the highest guy on Tuggle, and I don't want to skew his ADP by drafting him earlier than everybody else would. Now, granted, he went that same round that I was considering him, so maybe I'm not skewing as much as I used to, but even still.
Yeah. So that was like one of the little bit of surprises there to me. But getting Dustin Crum at that spot in the second, that feels like highway robbery. CJ Stroud was a guy that I was also looking at. You took him in the 5th. He was a guy that I was looking at, and my next upcoming pick there as well, because I think the Ohio State quarterback, like he's got a high ceiling. But even if for whatever reason, it does end up being McCord, you got Preston Hutchinson as your QB2, which is super safe. So I like that quarterback room a lot. Tyler Goodson, I don't love Tyler Goodson. I mean, I think he's as an RB2, I don't love it, but you got Britton Brown, who I think could be great there as well. And I'm with you on David Bailey. Obviously, disappointed last year in Boston College, but now he's reunited with Steve Addazio, and like you said, I think he's just gonna just run the rock with David Bailey. And they lost their quarterback, Patrick O'Brien. He transferred to Washington, so they're going to be breaking in a brand new quarterback as well. So I think David Bailey could very easily end up stepping up and being, RB2 or a flex option there for you there. So I love that pick.
I think it's also part of the reason why I'm down on Dante Wright again. Like on top of the fact that I don't trust Steve Addazio to use him well, I also just think that David Bailey is going to take over this offense, and Steve Addazio is going to let it happen. And Dante Wright's not going to get the volume that you're going to want out of him, especially with him being drafted as a wide receiver 2 and 3.
Right, totally agree. And I'm actually the same thing with Trey McBride at tight end. I know he's another guy that's pretty high in some of the points per game and in an EDP for tight ends there. But I'm kind of off of McBride as well for the same reason. I think that one of those guys will be able to be sustained in that offense, but I don't think it'll be both of them. And I don't even know who that quarterback's going to be honest with you. So I'm not really willing to take a chance on that passing game, but I think the running game is going to be where it's at. So I love that pick. I like this team overall. You've got Weidermeyer as well at the tight end spot, who, you got him 3 rounds later than where I took Cole Turner. And I think Weidermeyer he may not quite have the ceiling that Cole Turner does, because I'm with Xavier as well, where we don't know what that quarterback situation is going to be exactly yet. If it is King, I think King can lean on Weidermeyer a little bit. Calzada's a bit more of a toolsy guy. He's got a big arm. I don't know how much he's going to check down to the tight end, but they also don't have a lot of other receiving options in that passing game. So I think Weidermeyer is going to be a safe, week in, week out, very consistent guy for you there. So I love that as well. So I think this is a great team, top to bottom.
Thank you very much. You flatter me, sir. All right. So before we kind of finish out here, what was that, Xavier?
I think Volunteers asked us to talk about his team as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he's still here, so we can run through that real quick.
Yeah, he took 4 straight running backs. I was very surprised, but he took 4 really good running backs.
Oh yeah, he did. Look at that.
Yeah, I love Jared Broussard. I wanted Broussard and McBride. Those are 2 guys I'm really high on. Kevin Marks, I am a little bit down on since probably the start of the year, where I was like, oh yeah, before their coach left and went on and took all their players, even their offensive line. I was very high on him. I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to be the second coming of Jared Patterson. Better, cue him up now and get him ready. But now I'm a little bit more down ever since the coach left, and they have a new coach coming in from, I believe, Michigan State. And it's just a question mark of how they're going to use him. And also, is that O-line going to be able to protect him and get on the blocks they need? Now, it is the max, so I don't think there's a lot of pressure coming on to him. And if he's that talented, then it shouldn't affect him. But, for a first-round pick, maybe I probably wouldn't have. But even still, I think he still has, his ceiling is still first-round value. Letty Brown is a safe pick for your running back 2 at Western Virginia. But their next 2 picks, running backs, are really, really good. And then you also get Calvin from Hawaii as well, too.
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting strategy that Volunteers try to go with just stacking up on running backs early. But I think he lost a little bit out at wide receiver. Not that I don't like Sam Pinckney or Deshaun Polk. I like them both. I was honestly looking for Polk to stack with Crum. Problem is, I'm not trusting those guys to be my wide receiver 1 or 2 on my teams. You're trusting a lot to those running backs who, again, Kevin Marks, Letty Brown, Jared Broussard are all guys who have very high floors, and I think that would have been I think that'll provide you a safe floor and everything, but then you're going to need Sam Pinckney, Deshaun Polk, and Bo Melton to be your breakout guys who are going to push your team over the top, and I'm not sure that they can do that. Caleb Elby and Phil Jerkovich, I love that QB turn. Good. He did a great job on that, grabbing those 2 guys late. I feel like that was well done by him. Army DSC, I think, is good. And then Josh Wiley is a perfectly fine tight end. He's definitely one of those guys that adds to the depth of the tight end position this year, but he's definitely not going to be a guy I want to trust week in and week out. And then, yeah, pretty much, I think it's a very interesting strategy. I think it worked out well for him for the most part. Although if this was my personal team, I wouldn't feel super comfortable going into any matchup week in and week out because I feel like I would have a very high floor but a very low ceiling with this team.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would change about this team is I like Mateo Durant for what he did for Duke and the carries that he gets and the workload that he gets, but I think there were better value at running back, or you could have gotten a receiver from somewhere else, or you could have used your Donovan Knight pick for another receiver as well too, because you already had a really stacked running back room at the time. And at that point, I mean, I'm not saying you were greedy or anything, but you made it a lot harder for a lot of us to where we were just like, yeah, I definitely need another running back or somebody that can get that quality of a Calvin Turner or a Donovan Knight. That could be that, bench option. But yeah, at that time, you probably just needed some better receivers. Sam Pinckney was a good one. I love Jay Sean. Bo Melton, I'm just not completely sold yet, but I see a lot of people do believe in him. Dante DeMoss Jr. It's between him and Raheem Jarrett. I know a lot of people love Raheem Jarrett, but Dante DeMoss, a lot of people believe, I think Austin as well believes that he's just going to have that seniority with Talia and probably be that number 1 receiver. So that was a good late round pick as well. And then Hendon Hooker, that's up to you. If that's your guy and you believe in Hendon and his rushing ability in the SEC, then it can work out for you. But I don't know. Tennessee has a lot of holes in there, but they have a decent offensive line with a few pieces that I know that's on that line, but they're going to it's an uphill battle for them, and they're going to be playing from behind, and playing from behind in the SEC is a lot harder than playing from behind in the ACC. So
real quick, Colin, your thoughts here on Volunteers team here real quick?
Yeah, I mean, you guys hit on it perfect. I mean, he smashed running back. I don't love Kevin Marks just because, like I said, that whole coaching staff left. They lost a lot of pieces off that offense. Off of they followed them to Kansas, some offensive linemen and stuff. So I'm a little bit worried about that. But he is going to be the center point of that offense. So I think in the first round, it's a little rich for me. But you could also swap Letty Brown and Kevin Marks, and that's fine. I think
I would disagree personally, but basically, like as far as I see, he grabbed 2 second-round running backs in the first 2 picks, and I think that's where he's losing out value there. But again, because he then stacks up in the 3rd and 4th round with running backs and everything, it makes up for it a little bit. And 6th.
Yeah, there's 5 of his first 6 picks running backs there. So like I say, smash that. The Zonovan Knight pick. Like I like Bam Knight, but just looking at the draft board here, Johannes Tyler was still on the board. Jared Shorter was still on the board. That
would have been great picks for him there.
Either of those guys would have rounded out the wide receiver room a little bit more. And then he waited on QB for forever, but I think he got 2 good ones. I'm upset he stole Caleb Ellaby. Like I said, if I had realized Ellaby was still on the board, I would have taken him over Cordero. So, I mean, he got a really, really nice value there as his QB1. QB2, Jerkovich. Jerkovich could be a great QB2. And then he has the ceiling with Hendon Hooker that we talked about a little bit earlier on in the show. So I think that was his quarterback room is solid. Like touched on with Josh Weil. I mean, he actually said in the chat, there's Cincinnati's wide receiver 1, and it kind of is.
Yeah.
So I think that getting him in the 14th round, real solid value there as well. Wide receiver room is what gives me some pause as well. I think that Xavier, you brought up a really good point on Dante Demas, and that's part of Austin's influence there a little bit. But yeah, I think that people are overlooking him. And I think he's going to be a really good value there. So getting him in the 15th was fantastic value. So that could end up offsetting a little bit of that in the wide receiver room, but those running backs could also carry him.
All right. So before we head out, I'm going to ask each of us to name one player. I was originally going to do 3, but we're kind of running a little long on time here. So one player you were surprised was not drafted. And then Colin, I'm going to ask you one last question before we head out, but I'll go ahead and start with you, Colin. Who is one player that you are kind of surprised was not drafted?
So one player that so I'm not as familiar with the ADP here, everything like that typically, for these drafts. One guy that I was looking at really heavily was Vermon Davis at Vanderbilt. I think he's going to be that entire offense. And, I think he's, Ken Seals is fine as a quarterback, but that offense is going to run through Vermon Davis. And I think he could put up some really big numbers there. Him not playing last year or, I think he played like one game or part of a game, and then that was it. I think that's causing him to go a little bit under the radar. So I was looking at him at a couple different spots. I was kind of surprised he didn't get drafted.
All right, Xavier, who's one person that you're kind of surprised?
I'm going to go with Max Duggan. I really love Max Duggan out of TCU. I love his rushing ability and what he can do through the air. Mainly, I love his rushing ability that much. And for a lot of these drafts, for almost every draft, everybody loves QBs with rushing ability. So that's why I was kind of see this is probably one of the best rushers in college football that we have, and to see him not taken, it just was a little bit of a shock to where I was like, I was fine at quarterback, but other people were just like maybe they were high on some other high prolific offenses. Like I guess people took Spencer Sanders, Austin Oon, the North Texas QB. I can't say his last name. Hendon Hooker was taken.
Frank Harris.
A few of the.
Is it Frank Harris?
Frank Harris, yeah, to UTSA. I would have definitely taken Max Duggan before a lot of those guys. So that was mainly it for me.
Yeah, I would agree, Xavier. And I know for a fact that John Lobb, I know he's asleep right now, but he absolutely just woke up and started rolling in his bed. He doesn't know why, as Max Duggan is sitting here undrafted in this draft. John's a huge fan of Max Duggan. I understand why. I'm with you, Xavier. I let you go first, Xavier, because there's 2 guys I was looking at here, and I was like Max Duggan and somebody else. I'm going to let Xavier go first because I feel like Xavier's going to take Duggan, and you did. So I'm going to kind of cheat with mine on this last one because I'm surprised that nobody took a shot on either of the QBs out of Texas, Casey Thompson or Hudson Card. I'm surprised. Like Xavier, you took your shot on Max Duggan. Miles Brennan went undrafted, but I'm not shocked that at least one of them somebody took a shot on. I'm surprised nobody took a shot on Casey Thompson or Hudson Card. I think with the tools and weapons, especially the Sarkisian offense, you're going to see whoever gets that starting job out of those two is going to be dynamite for you this upcoming season. And I'm surprised nobody kind of took a shot here late. Again, I would have considered it if I didn't already have Preston Hutchinson as my backup QB for this admittedly kind of shallow draft. Like we only have 16 rounds here. I prefer 20 plus round drafts for when I really do it. This is more just for ADP reasons and everything. So that's kind of my thing. Again, I kind of cheated a little bit because technically it's 2 players, but same position, same school and everything. So Colin, I'm going to ask you one last question before we finish up here. You're a C2C guy, and you came on here. This is your first CFF draft that you've done this season. What do you say to your other C2C players about doing drafts like these, getting into leagues like this? What are your, like, do you think it's worth it for people who kind of hang out in your circle to come on here, practice with these leagues, or just get involved in CFF in general?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, first of all, I look at my C2C rosters. There's really like 2. I mean, you can go in a number of different strategies, but most of the strategies fall into 2 kind of different buckets. You go a little bit more of a heavy approach, or you go a little bit more of like a, try to win on a college side, get some college producers. I do subscribe a little bit more to the college side, trying to win on that side. So doing this just kind of unearths some sleepers and they're not really necessarily sleepers, but there's some later round guys that you can take. Like you mentioned when you did the C2C mock, you're just scooping up value late, Dustin Crum in the 12th and, Sky Moore.
I got DTR in like round 19.
Yeah. So you're getting guys like that late who are going to put up huge numbers. So if you're following that approach, yeah, absolutely. Like this is invaluable. I'm excited that I was able to get on here and do this. Like I said, we wanted to do it for a little while because I don't have as much experience with the college side, but I do like to try to win on the college side because it's an area that can be a little bit underserved. And just getting your ADP sheet, figuring out the guys that are values and the guys that are going early here, it can help you on that side as well. And with C2C being so deep, anywhere after round 10, 15, if you're getting anybody with any NFL production, that's a win. Mm-hmm. Any future NFL production, that's a win. And like you touched on, the NFL likes stats, so some of these big guys who are smaller schools, but they produce, they can potentially make it in the NFL. And, why not take chances on guys like that? At least in my perspective, take chances on guys like that a little bit later in your C2C drafts. And, these guys that we're all drafting here, like that's exactly the values that you want. Those are the guys that can help you win a little bit of money on the college side. So anybody who's in a C2C league and isn't doing CFF mocks, at least, if you don't have to participate in a full league, if that takes a little bit too much time, too much maintenance and anything like that, but do the mocks. It just gives you a better idea. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't.
I appreciate the endorsement there very much. So I will say, is there anything that would surprise you doing this? Like any trends that you saw that kind of shocked you that you weren't expecting kind of coming in?
Yeah, the late tight end definitely surprised me. Like I said, I waited till the 7th round and I still felt like that was late. Mm-hmm. So the guys like Jalen Weidermeyer and Michael Mayer in C2C mocks, those guys are going rounds 4. Yep. Roughly round 5. I mean, we have our ADP up, as well. I don't have that pulled up in front of me to get the exact number, but they're roughly in round 4 or 5. And, they go off the board. You took Weidermeyer in, what was it, the 10th?
10th round, I believe.
Yeah, you took him in the 10th round. Just how late you can get those guys that really surprised me.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Colin, for coming on here. It's been a blast having you on here. Again, we're always welcome to people with different views coming in from different types of leagues and everything. That's why I asked you at the very end, like if you found value in this, if you found anything that kind of surprised you and everything. It's been a blast. You're a great guy. Love having you on. Again, you ever want to come on to our show, just text us. You have a topic you want to talk to us. We're happy to have you on. We have a great time with you. Xavier, my co-host, thank you very much for hopping back on. How's the Suns Bucks game going? Is it finished?
The Bucks won.
The Bucks won. All right.
Yes.
So that's all finished up and everything. Michael in the chat, while I show the entire draft board, I will be showing that tomorrow when I send a tweet out with the full draft board. You'll be able to see everything. I will also be updating this draft onto my ADP sheet, which you can purchase for $30 just by DMing me or sending me an email, cffjared@gmail.com, or you can just @ me on Twitter and I will get you hooked up. There's an easy way to get 50% off on that if you just subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you don't have an Apple product, that's fine. Just show us you're subscribed or following us on Spotify. That'll be more than enough. And then, yep, I think that's kind of the majority of it. Colin, thank you so much for coming on. Xavier, always glad to have you here by my side. And for everybody else at home, thank you for joining us. We had a blast tonight, and y'all have a wonderful night.